So I am going to introduce Tanaya Winder, our first panelist, and I'm delighted to do this. Um, Tanaya is a poet, a singer-songwriter, a spoken word artist, and more. And she's joining us from Albuquerque, New Mexico. She's a citizen of the Duckwater Shoshone Nation. She grew up in the Southern Ute Reservation, on the Southern Ute Reservation in Colorado. She has a BA in English from Stanford and an MFA from the University of New Mexico, where she studied with Joy Harjo, who was the 23rd Poet Laureate of the United States. Tanaya's poetry collections include Words Like Love and Why Storms Are Named After People and Bullets Remain Nameless. She has a powerful TED Talk called Igniting Healing, and she's co-founded an online literary magazine called As Us, a space for writers of the world that showcases the work of writers of color from around the world. We're going to be giving away a signed copy of Tanaya's book, Words Like Love, to one of our attendees tonight. So I'm about to put a copy of the book cover in the chat. If you're interested in being included in this offering in the raffle for this book, then just like or respond to that copy of the book cover that I put in the chat, and then we'll randomly draw one of your names to receive the book. I will reach out to you to get your address, and then we will mail you a copy of the book. So please join me in welcoming Tanaya here this evening.
Thank you, Camille.
It's all you.
Yeah. Welcome, everyone. So excited to be here today. So, Mike Tanaya Winder, just introduced myself in the Ute language. And I always like to start my talks and just sharings with I used to feel such shame about not being able to introduce myself in my language. I have a lot of Lakota or Diné and other Native friends who can introduce themselves and speak their language. And I used to feel such shame that I wasn't able to speak mine until I realized, that shame is part of colonization. That shame is what they wanted us to feel. That shame is what they tried to instill into my grandmother when she was taken from her reservation as a young girl and put into a boarding school. In boarding schools, we all know horrible things happen there. But where they really just taught our grandparents and our elders that being Native, being Indian, in my grandmother's words, wasn't worthy of anything, and that, they taught them that their language, their songs, their prayers, that all those things weren't worthy of continuing and teaching. And because that was instilled in my grandmother, she didn't pass her language to her daughters. And so my sister, my cousin, and I, we don't speak, but now I realize I don't feel that shame because I realize my language was stolen from me. So I do my best to try to reclaim however I can, taking classes. My tribe offers virtual language classes. But on my father's reservation, on the Southern Ute Reservation, for a while there was an elder who would send out these weekly emails with a different Ute phrase, and so I would always try to practice them and learn them. And one of these phrases was this word, tu Tavai, which means it's a good day. And for me, the way I've always loved to learn language is through song, through music. So I wrote a song with that phrase, tu Tavai, it's a good day. I'm going to attempt to play it on my guitar. I hope there's not too bad of a delay, but see how it goes. And if you can't hear it that well, just, smile along and you'll know when I put my guitar away that the song is over. But this is tu Tavai. Woke up this morning to greet the day, lit my sage to give thanks and began to pray. Hey, I ask Creator, do what you can to guide my path. That's all I ask. It's a good ancestors, please protect my spirit, those I hold dearest in my heart. If there are wounds, help me heal them, so others know love even for a minute. Tavai, it's a good day. To Tavai. So that was to Tavai. Back in my earphone. So hopefully you got to hear some of it, but if you didn't get to hear too well, for me, part of my writing process is writing to me is ceremony. Whether it is a poetry or music, writing is prayer. I believe that the words, the music, the art, it's not of me, it flows through me. It's from Creator, it's from a different place. And so I try to have that intentionality about my writing process, having some of the elements around me, drinking water, smudging, praying before I write or create, just asking that whatever is meant to flow through me can come through me to help other people, to help heal myself, those different parts of me. And so that song, like almost all of my songs have come just so quickly and smoothly like that. Of course, there's refinements and edits. But with that one, I was thinking, what makes it a good day? And for me, that song is like a prayer, Creator, please protect my spirit, those I hold dearest in my hearts. If there are wounds, help me heal them so others know love, even for a minute. And so now, that I wrote that song, I never forget that phrase, to Tavai, it's a good day. And I can share that with other people. And if it gets stuck in their heads, then hopefully they'll learn that too. But that song will be on my forthcoming album, which I hope to finish in these next couple of months. But how I had shared that art for me, creating community is about finding that healing. And so part of that, I want to share this quote by this First Nations author, Richard Van Camp. And it's from his book, The Lesser Blessed. And the quote says, I have to tell you something I said, I'm not going to lie. I have to tell you, I have this God-shaped hole in my heart. And I think you do too. And for me, I feel like most of us as human beings have that God-shaped hole, that creator-shaped hole, or that universe-shaped hole, whatever your belief is. So many of us spend our lives trying to fill that hole with unhealthy coping mechanisms, toxic relationships, substance, addiction, even being a workaholic, like for me, is one way I've tried to fill that hole. And it took me a long time again to realize that that hole is not meant to be filled, but it's what flows through, my art, our compassion, our connection and building community is what flows through those holes that we've been given. It's one way to think about how to turn pain into power. For me, I always hold words, again, whether in poetry or music, as so sacred. My mother always said to think of words as seeds. And she said this because you have to be careful of the words you say, the words you speak, because once you think it or speak it, you give life to it. It's like planting a seed in your life or someone else's life. I use this metaphor, and I'm trying to write a children's book on it, but when I teach young students about bullying and being kind to each other, you got to think of the words you say like planting a seed in somebody's life or spirit. You might, out of anger or frustration, say to somebody, I can't believe you're so stupid. How could you make that mistake? Or you're dumb, you're ugly. Or as adults, we get frustrated too. You might say, you're incompetent. How could you make such a stupid mistake? We might go off to recess if you're young or off to get coffee if you're older and, forget you even said anything, but you planted a seed in that person. They might go home and think about it at dinner, think about it, have stress dreams about it, and wake up the next day and look themselves in the mirror and think those things. So our words have the power to harm, but our words can also have the power to heal. So that's why I do my best to think of words and storytelling as medicine, as having this power to help us all connect with each other. And, some of us, it's even speaking words, positive words over our own lives, and the older we get, sometimes I think the sneakier we get, we might not say to ourselves, I'm not going to apply for that grant or promotion because I'm not good enough or I'm smart enough. We might not just apply, but deep down, like those are some of the roots of those seeds. So we have to be so careful about the words we speak over other people and the words that we share over our own lives too. And I found that for me, when I first started off in my artist career, very much like a product of the system. I did my undergrad at Stanford University, which taught me to be very competitive and very like capitalistic. And then I immediately went into my master's of fine arts program and thought, how am I going to publish? How am I going to do my book? But something about that intention, even again, with planting those seeds with not the best intention, made the work not resonate as much. And so as I started to really return to community and think about what do I want my words to do, what kind of seeds do I want to plant, like it really did change things, in my community, we do a lot of like ceremonies or different talking circles and things in circles. So and when we pray for people, we pray from people from the doorway in to the doorway out. And once I started really grounding myself in this principle and this concept, I started using my art to serve. This is a picture of me teaching poetry at our tribe's Montessori school, and then working with Native youth to just try to work on their empowerment and their storytelling and teaching them, that all the stories they have inside them matter and are important. Once I started doing that, I feel like I got more artist opportunities, more different things that kind of led and grew my craft and my art in different ways. There was one experience when I was working on a reservation in Minnesota, and whenever I visit schools, I always give this prompt: if you could have any superhero power, what would it be? And normally, people want to do teleport, they want to read people's minds, move things with their minds, but this is the first time every single female student said they wish their superhero power was invisibility. And I thought of it like it really just tugged at my heart, because of just thinking about how hard it is to be young, to be bullied. At the time, I was also doing a lot of work to help raise awareness about the epidemic of murdered and missing Indigenous women. And so I thought literally just how dangerous it can be to be seen sometimes. And so, of course, when things like that happen, I want to turn it into art. So I'm going to share a video poem. It's animated by another Indigenous artist, Moira Villard, and the music is also by another Indigenous artist, Mike Jordan. So hopefully you can hear it okay. I'm going to share this video poem based on that experience, and it's called Love Lessons in the Time of Settler Colonialism.
Love Lessons in a Time of Settler Colonialism. In my poetry workshops, I ask my students, if you could have any superhero power, what would it be? All of the Indigenous girls respond, invisibility. They too know all too well that some cracks were built just for us to fall through. We live in a world that tries to steal spirits each day. They steal ours by taking us away. From industrial schools to forced assimilation, genocide means removal of those who birth nations. Our living threatens. Colonization has been choking us for generations. I tell my girls, they are vessels of spirit, air to lungs expanding. This world cannot breathe without us. There are days I wish I didn't have to teach these lessons, but as an Indigenous woman, silence is deadening. There is danger in being seen. Our bodies are targets marked for violence. We carry the earth's screams, "Me Too," inside us. A howling wind, our mothers and their mothers swallowed these bullets long ago. The voices ricochet. I wish I was invisible. I wish I was invisible. I wish echoes in my eardrums. We know what it's like to live in fear. Colonialism's bullet sits cocked, waiting behind a finger on trigger. We breathe and speak and sing for survival. We carve out in lines. We write, I know joy. I know pain. I know love. I know love. I know lessons we've carried throughout time. Should I go missing? Don't stop searching. Drag every river until it turns red and the waters of our names stretch a flood so wide it catches everything. And we find each other, whole and sacred, alive and breathing and breathing and breathing.
So that was a poem, Love Lessons in a Time of Settler Colonialism. It's also available on the Poetry Foundation's website as well, as they were the original publishers of that poem. But for me, I do believe that, writing is alchemy. Writing and our words have the power to just transform so much. I believe that the words we speak over our hearts, our minds, and bodies are the keys to unlocking our paths to healing and liberation. One of the first times I've worked with and visited younger students, a lot of my poetry and content I feel like is PG-13. So when I was working with the younger students, I said, I don't have anything really appropriate to share with them. So I said, tell me what you want me to write. And the next time I come, I'll write something for you. Of course, the kids are shy. They don't always share. But this little boy came up to me at lunch and he gave me this note. And he said, can you write about someone going through a tough time and that things would get better towards the end? That would mean a lot. Thanks. And that's what I really believe my call is as an artist, to show that, I know that we all go through tough times, and I want my work to speak to those tough times and the truth of it, but to also have those little kernels of hope, to show that things will get better towards the end. So for me, that really is the power of heart first, leading with your heart in this heart work. To use that creator-shaped hole in your heart to bring forth light into this world that so desperately needs love. And so to close out my time with you all, I'm going to share a poem that I have published on the Academy of American Poets, and it is called Becoming a Ghost. Ask me about the time my brother ran towards the sun, arms outstretched. His shadow chased him from corner store to church where he offered himself in pieces. Ask me about the time my brother disappeared, at 16 tossed his heartstrings over telephone wire, dangling for all the res dogs to feed on. Bit by bit, the world took chunks of my brother's flesh. Ask me about the first time we drowned in history. 8 years old, during communion, we ate the body of Christ with palms wide open, not expecting wine to be poured into our mouths. The bitterness buried itself in my tongue, and my brother never quite lost his thirst for blood, or vanishing for more days than a shadow could hold. Ask me if I've ever had to use bottle caps as breadcrumbs to help my brother find his way back home. He never could tell the taste between a scar and its wounding an angel or demon. Ask me if I can still hear his exhaled prayers. I am still waiting to be found. To be found, tell me why there is nothing more holy than becoming a ghost. So thank you all for letting me plant some seeds with you all today. I look forward to hearing from the other artists on the panel and look forward to any questions at the end.